Hello and happy Friday! Welcome to Swordbreaker Origins, available now on the Xbox Store for $9.99 on multiple Xbox stores. You can get it on Windows, you can get it on One, you can get it on Series.
Idiot!
Hello, Ima. Hello, Olkesh. Hello, Havor. Let's play a game. This is going to be an exciting game. I don't know much about it besides the trailer. Oh, Cadillac. Yes, Mr. Cadillac. Alright, what do we got? 68 achievements! Holy hell! That's a lot of achievements. I didn't even know that either. I'm sure you need to follow a guide to get all of the achievements as quickly as TA says. I am probably not going to get maybe half of them. Yes, Cadillac. Yes, yes, yes. New game plus God mode. Map. Map doesn't do anything. New game.
Swordbreaker, the mysterious adventurer that one day shaped the fate of the abandoned castle. But how? Did he save the princess? Did he become the Dark Lord? Or has he stolen the Lord's gem? What do we know about the Swordbreaker at all? Who is he? And how did he get his nickname? This story will tell you.
Alright. After that little cutscene, hello P-Confusion, hello Havor, thank you for that raid. Welcome Raiders. Hello Otter, hello Delta, welcome. Alright, this game's audio is very low. Read the story, choose your way, hide the UI, show statistics and the map. Daniel, Horde, your food is ready. Come quick. His mother called, sternly. Coming, Mom. The boy shouted back from some bushes. Then he climbed out of the bush near the neighboring house, waved goodbye to his... Whoa, geez, that's long. Hello, horror. Safety message so you don't break the bot. Coming, Mom, the boy shouted back from some bushes, waving goodbye to his friends, and went into his house. His family wasn't rich, but his mother's income was enough for a normal life. They also had a garden where they grew crops, so the Horde family had a lot of things to take care of. Daniel had no father. He died. His father was a soldier in King Stephen's army and was mortally wounded in the first attack of the Mingles. The boy never saw him, and it made him feel sad at times. Eat your lunch and go to school, his mother said. What should Daniel answer? Why do I have to go to school? All right, Mother. Can I... Settings. Wow, that audio is super low. Alright, turn everything down. I wonder why it was so low. We are 2 of 620. Where is the announcement? What announcement? It's in my Discord, ha! But yes, as some of you may know, I have now been invited to FanFest. Yay! Thank you, my secret person. Danny ate his lunch and left the house. He walked down the village street towards his school. He didn't want to go to school, but his mother insisted on it. When he was far enough away from home, he suddenly had an idea. Maybe he could skip school and seek some adventures in the forest. Should he go to school? Let's go to the forest. Coffee. Come what may, the boy thought. And he... What does Y do? Oh, that opens it up. He ran the direction of the forest. The tall trees rustled noisily in the wind. The strange berry bushes growing between the trees beckoned to Danny. He found a path that led off into the distance. Should he eat the berries, go along the path, or go the opposite direction? How about let's eat the berries? The brave boy, not even knowing what kind of berries they were, began to devour them with gusto. They were very sweet, and Daniel just couldn't stop. After an hour, he felt some whirling sensation in his stomach. He didn't feel so well. He ran home quickly, not to soil his trousers. 10 years had passed. We had some berries in 10-year passes? Jeez. Daniel grew up. He still wanted to become a soldier. However, now he was worried about one thing, whether he wanted to be a soldier in the Royal Army or a free warrior. One summer... I can't read it that high. One summer day, a Ragwin establishment officer arrived in Sunny Hills. He stopped at the tavern, got off his horse, and rang the bell to gather the people for an announcement. When they finally gathered around him, the officer unfolded a scroll with a seal. In the name of King Stephen, I command all young men between the ages of 20 and 25 to be drafted into the army for 5 years. The metabolization is being carried out due to the increased activity of the Imperial troops in our western borders. The men must arrive at the barracks in Ragwin within 10 days. Those who decide to dodge the draft will be hanged for treason. The officer read. After that, his assistants handed out the draft cards to all the men who fit the requirements. Danny realized that this was the moment to make a difficult choice in his life. Should he go to Ragwin or try to escape into the woods? Or maybe he should ask the officer a silly question. Let's ask a silly question. What time do you have to wake up in the army? Danny shouted. You must wake up at 6 in the morning because the only thing you want to do at 6 in the morning is killing people. The enlistment officer shouted. Continue. 10 years passed. Well, it's the same thing. Let's ask a silly question again. Let's join the army. Danny made a decision. He'll join the army. Why won't run away from it? Running away is for weaklings. And it's not like that. The young man told his mother about his decision. She wasn't happy, of course, but she didn't say anything against it. Daniel took a small bag of provisions, his father's sword, kissed his mother goodbye, and set off for Ragwin. He knew that from that moment he was on his own and had to protect himself. Outside Sunny Hills, Danny found himself in a country road. The road to the city was far away. The young man slowly walked along the road. He kicked the pebbles on his way. Suddenly, he heard a rustling noise. He looked around, but couldn't find the source of the sound. Should he stop paying attention to the noise and move on, or should he examine? Let's examine. Whoa! We just lost a heart. Daniel decided to look around. He bent down and started walking and examining every inch of the road. Suddenly, he heard a rustle and a nasty hiss, but it was too late. A viper bit his nose and hanged on to it. Daniel grabbed it by the tail and threw it in the bushes. The poison started working. There was no one to help. So there he lay, dead on the dusty road. Okay. How many times can we die? Oh! I lost a heart each time. Whoopsie! Alright, continue. New game.
A Swordbreaker. The mysterious adventurer that what do we know? This story, and it all began in...
Why do I have to go to school? Asked the boy. Why do you have to? His mother was surprised. All children go to school to become smart, but I want to be a soldier like my dad, Danny said, sadly. All in good time, son. When you grow up, you'll decide for yourself what you want, to serve in the army or become a farmer, his mother said. Look, Uncle Tom is a fat, well-to-do farmer. He has his own herd of sheep and cows, and they bring him a lot of money. Wouldn't you like to be him? His mother insisted. Danny didn't really want to be a fat farmer and mess around in manure, but he didn't say anything. Food is ready. Alright, mother. Flights to LA are like 700. Wow. Someone else I know that won has been looking into that, but the travel cost is a little too much for them. Danny ate his lunch. Let's go to school this time. When the boy reached his school, he opened the door and sat down at his desk. The teacher said something about letters and the alphabet, but he wasn't very interested. All his thoughts were about the future. He wanted to grow up as soon as possible. After the class finished, and when the students and the teacher left the classroom, Danny stayed behind and saw that there was a strange black book on the teacher's desk. I agree with that. That's why I'm happy it's where I live. It's not going to cost me more than a couple $100 just for whatever swag, food I buy for the day. Should he take it? Let's take the book. Daniel picked up the unusual book. The cover read, Exorcism Summoning Underworld Gods. It was difficult for Danny to read this book, but he still managed to read the most interesting chapter about summoning the devil. He sat reading the book until the evening. Then he put the book back on the table and went home. Dibs on the Funko? What? Bye, Cadillac. I don't have my phone. 10 years had passed. Let's escape to the forest. Danny decided to become a free adventurer and not serve the king. He gathered up his belongings and went into the forest. It was a forest near his village. The trees rose high onto the sky, and there were bushes with bright berries all around. The young man walked for a long time until he got tired. He decided to camp for the night, so he built a fire and made a small shelter out of some tree branches. He noticed a mushroom under the tree. "I hope it's edible," Daniel said out loud. Should he eat the mushroom raw, cook it over the fire, or should he just go to sleep? Or maybe he should take the mushroom with him. Let's eat the raw mushroom. What could go wrong? You call dibs on Psychonauts Funko. Why are you calling dibs on what you guys don't even know? Oh, that thing. Danny picked the suspicious mushroom up and put it into his mouth without thinking. He felt a terrible bitter flavor. After that, he began to spit out the nasty mushroom, but his mouth started to bleed. The acid of the mushroom started to eat away at Daniel's mouth and intestines. Soon, the young man's torment ended, and he fell dead under the tree. Rip us. Let's take the mushroom. Daniel took the mushroom and put it in his pocket. Now we can go to sleep. In any I know that word, but I just can't say it. Incompressionable, I'm not saying it, situation to go to sleep. In any whatever. Danny remembered Uncle Tom's words. The old forest swayed in the night, and the crickets chirped steadily, lulling Danny to sleep. The young man crawled into his shelter, curled up, and fell asleep. Incomprehensible. These texts get to my eyes. I need new glasses already. In the middle of the night, Daniel was awakened by a loud cracking sound of a branch somewhere near his shelter. He grabbed his sword. Should he climb out of the shelter to the fire, sit quietly, or we're gonna sit quietly. Daniel was startled. A drop of cold sweat rolled down his forehead. He heard some soft footsteps in the silence of the night. Suddenly, a wolf passed in front of his shelter. The other two were wandering behind the fire. They haven't noticed him yet. Hack the nearest one from behind and try to climb the tree, or kick the nearest wolf in the ass. We're gonna kick the wolf. Oh, that didn't work. The young man ran out of his shelter and with all his might gave a kick to the wolf's butt. The wolf leaped aside and whined a bit, but not for long. The next moment the wolf made a huge leap and bit Danny's neck. The two other wolves ran up to the fellow wolf's fresh prey and started to tear the helpless young man apart. Rip! We're gonna just climb a tree. Danny thought and jumped up the nearest pine tree. He climbed on a branch and started catching his breath. The wolves below were snarling viciously and kept their eyes on him. It was a dumb idea. What should I do now? The boy scolded himself, looking down at the wolves. Several new desperate ideas appeared in his head. Should he throw some pine cones at the wolves, wait till they go away, or maybe hurl his sword at one of them? Ooh, let's throw the mushroom. Danny remembered that he had a mushroom. What if I try to throw it in the fire? The young man asked himself. He took the mushroom out of his pocket, aimed, and threw it at the fire. Bullseye! A few seconds later, a thick... That's not acid. I know it was an acid mushroom. Acrid? Smoke started coming out of the fire. It was heavy and did not rise high, so it did not reach the young man. The wolves did not suffer long. They were poisoned by the mushroom fumes, and Danny climbed down from the tree and wandered further into the forest. Oh, now we got some elves or something. In the morning, Daniel went into a small clearing in the woods and sat down on a stump to take a breather after a long walk. Put your hands up, stranger, Danny heard in a man's voice. I'm no threat to you. and I am ready to have a peaceful talk, he said, while putting his hands up. It's not for us to decide. We don't like strangers here. You're trespassing the boundary between the territories of the humans and the elves of the forest. We'll have to take you to our queen and let her decide your fate, said the man, with elven ears wearing beautiful armor, who appeared from the thicket. Another guard followed him out. Wow, the queen of the elves will decide my fate? That's an interesting turn of events, guys, I must say, Danny smiled. Shut up and move. The elven guard raised his voice with irritation. Should Daniel go to the queen, irritate the guards, or kill them and mind his way? Let's kill the guards. You know, I can't go with you, Danny said. Why is that? The guard asked. Because I decided where I go. Because I decide where I go, the young hero said. He drew a sword. The guards drew their swords and raised their shields. What should he do next? Form a slide into the guards? I was just kidding. Kick the shield, jump on the shield. What announcements? I've already told you. We'll do one. Oh, I think I died. Daniel charged at his opponents, who covered themselves with shields. He wanted to perform a slide and cut off their legs. Hi, cat. But he forgot that he was in the forest. The moss and the grass were not so slippery, so Danny couldn't slide and just absurdly fell on his butt right in front of the guards. Hello, Mr. Holmes. Welcome. That I got an invite to FanFest. They didn't wait for an apology and cut off his head. Hi, Jordan. Thank you. So we've died twice now. Well, technically 6 times. New game. So we've only gotten one of the achievements.
The Swordbreaker, the mysterious adventurer that one day shaped the fate of the abandoned castle. But how? Did he save the princess? Did he become the Dark Lord? And who knows if he become that same man known for his
Owl
adventures
boy.
in the castle, or if totally different ones. It all began.
Gifts aren't working? The heck? Cat images. Refresh. Alright, mother. Let's go into the forest. Let's go along the path this time. The path looped through the forest continuously. It was getting dark. In the end, the path led him out of the forest to his village. But eventually, he didn't find anything in the forest. 10 years had passed. Alright, we're gonna join the army. We're not going to examine the ground because that kills us. This is like a visual novel where you pick your own path. Kind of like a mix of The Walking Dead and a actual book. I'm probably hearing things, the young man struggled and walked on. The sun was going down. Danny stopped and marveled at the beautiful pink sunset. He'd never been so far away from home, alone before. Daniel left for the road and went towards the forest to spend the night there. He lay down on the grass and began to fall asleep. The warm breeze and the rustle of the leaves lulled him to sleep. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared over him. What should he do? Should he attack the shadow? Maybe he should wait and see what happens. Or should he run away? You like hidden buttons and the character actually does something? Alright, we're gonna attack the shadow. The young man took his father's sword and instantly struck the strange shadow. There was a cry, a splash of blood, and two halves of some tramp's body fell to the ground. He had no weapon. What did he want? Daniel will never know the answer. Now he had to find a new place to spend the night. The morning came. The cloudless sky promised a beautiful day. Daniel gathered up his belongings and wandered down the road until he came to a fork in the road. The inscription on the sign read, "Straight ahead to Ragwin, right to Nye Lake, left to the Black River." He needed to go to Ragwin, but why not go for adventures? We're gonna go left. Danny turned to the left and walked towards the Black River. It was called this way because its water was dark from the heel that covered the bottom? What's a peel? However, people did not know this and firmly believed in some terrible curse. Here's the river, the young man thought, and stopped near its slippery bank. The weather is wonderful and sunny. Maybe it would be nice to swim or sunbathe, or maybe he should skip a stone or just walk on. Let's skip a stone. How does that kill me? Danny found a flat stone and skipped it along the water surface. The stone skipped several times, and suddenly the young man heard a thud. It hit the head of a mermaid who popped her head out of the water to look at her visitor. At the same moment, the two other heads popped out of the water and began to scream loudly until the young man's head stuck. The young man's heart stopped. Weird. She popped out of the water. Alright, so we're not gonna... Let's go swim with the mermaids. Danny took off his clothes and happily dived in the dark, cool water in his underwear. He started to swim on the surface of the river when suddenly he felt that something touched his leg. Then it touched it again. The young man didn't see anything in the turbid water, but he was sure something was there. What the hell? Daniel shouted as somebody pulled off his underwear. That's when he got really scared. Should he run out of the water or see what happens next? Let's see what happens next. They took my underwear. Casey, close your eyes. The young man peered down the water, but it was to no avail. Suddenly, right in front of him, a beautiful girl's head with black hair poked out of the water. Hey, did you pull my underwear off? Daniel said indulgently. Your eyes have been itchy all day. That's not good. Maybe, the girl said with a sweet voice, and two more girls' heads appeared out of the water. Give it back. Dude, why would you be demanding your underwear back? That's sus. Daniel demanded. You can't steal people's clothes just like that. Try to guess which one of us took them off of you. But you only have one try. If you don't guess, then you'll go with us to the bottom, the girl with the black hair said. Damn, these mermaids. No wonder people say that it's better not to mess with them. And my sword is on the bank, Danny thought. There was no complaining. He had to make a choice. We're gonna go with the redhead. Eye worms? Jeez! Maybe it was you, Danny asked, pointing at the red-haired mermaid. You're wrong, the redhead said and attacked the young man. She bit into his neck. So she's a vampire? And started drawing him in the river. While trying to fight the mermaid, Danny spent his last bits of air and drowned. Dude! Alright, so should we say the blonde or the black-haired girl? Yes, I know mermaids are violent in most lore. Blondes are more fun? Well, let's go with the blonde. It's probably you, Danny said, looking at the blonde mermaid. I'm lucky with blondes. You guessed right. Here's your underwear, said the mermaid. Daniel took his underwear, got out of the water, and dressed quickly. The two mermaids had already disappeared under the water, but the blonde was still watching the young man. Wait, take this medallion. We don't need it, but you may, the mermaid shouted, and threw Daniel a silver medallion. They lured. Daniel caught it, started examining it. The medallion was in the form of a circle with a beautiful stone inside. Danny put it in his pocket and walked on. Daniel went up the river. Soon the young man stumbled upon a broken boat lying on the bank, inside of which lay a skeleton of a man, some fishing tackle, and a small trunk. It seemed strange to Danny since the tragedy must have happened a long time ago. Why didn't anyone loot this place? What the hell? That? That's scary. Should Danny examine the boat, open the trunk, or go further? Let's open the trunk. The young man climbed on the boat, carefully opened the trunk. It was empty. Strange. What had happened here? And where had the contents of the trunk gone? While Danny was staring into the emptiness of the trunk and thinking to himself, the skeleton's eyes sockets lit up, and it stood up. Daniel almost turned gray with fear. Wait, what happened next? Kick the skeletons? Let's kick the head. Danny kicked the skeleton's head and it flopped into the water. The skeleton fell apart and the disappointed hero went along the river. Thank you for watching today, Dopey-bot. Beep, boop, boop, beep, 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 beep. Daniel's long wandering brought him to the bridge over the Black River. The bridge was wooden and broken in many places. It was clear that it hadn't been used for many years. On the other side of the river, there was a man in a strange black clothes sitting under the bridge. Should Daniel cross the bridge or go the opposite direction to the road? Let's go to the road. Daniel decided not to take any unnecessary risks and went the direction of the main road. The morning was warm. The sun continued to rise higher in the sky. A dense forest surrounded the road on both sides and created a shadow on the ground. A little further on, Danny heard some noise in the forest to his right. Having looked around, he saw a man tied to a tree. The sun rays had not yet reached him, so he was in the shadows. Should Danny approach him, or better not? Or maybe he should watch what the man will do. Let's watch him. Daniel moved a little further away to see what will happen. Nothing unusual happened at first, but as soon as the sun's rays touched the man's leg, the prisoner began to cry out in pain, and an ugly burn appeared on his leg. Gradually, the sun burned him completely, so only his clothes fell out from under the ropes. Daniel didn't understand what happened. Interesting. The dusty road led him to a fork in the road. There was a sign, Ragwin straight ahead, Grotto to the right. When he was a kid, he visited a fair in Ragwin with his mother, but had never been to Grotto. He heard only stories about this goblin city. Where should he go? Let's go to the grotto. And that's to the right. The road to the right of the sign led him east, through a dead old forest. The trees were leafless, and the air smelled of damp and rotten wood. Suddenly, at the edge of the road, Danny noticed a corpse that was clutching something in its hand. Danny couldn't determine the cause of death, as the body had decomposed so much. He saw a sodden book lying close to the body. Should he go to the corpse and see what's in its hand, or just pass it? Or maybe he should leave this place as quick as he can. Let's examine the body. The young man cautiously approached the dead body. Judging by the clothes, it was a man. He is clearly not a warrior. I wonder what he was doing here, thought Danny. The young man opened the man's hand and took out a roll of paper. He unfolded it and started to read it. The legends were right. He's here. I heard the sound of hooves. Water won't help here, only fire. I'll try. The note broke off. The road to the right of the sign led him east. Alright, let's examine the book. Rated R Superstar. It's not a rated R stream. It's like PG-13. Let's see what the... Where's the link? See what the game's rated. E for everyone. It is rated M for mature, so yes, this is technically a rated R stream. And I don't know that wrestler. I don't know wrestling. Daniel walked over the corpse and picked up the book, which read, Dorgan's Legends. Nice. He opened the page with the bookmark and read, one of the Dorgan legends says that during the First War with the Mongol Empire... Gloves are off. One of the cavalry troops fell into a trap. The troop was surrounded and viciously slaughtered when a thick fog descended on the forest. The troop's commander, a valiant knight, Sir Patrick, fought blindly with the Mongol scouts, but was defeated. One of the enemies cut off his horse's head, and the other cut off a leg of Sir Patrick himself. They left him bleeding to death. They didn't kill him on purpose. In death agony, the knight cursed the forest and vowed to avenge his death. The forest started to die in that place, and now a strange mist hangs over the path to the east, obscuring the vision of travelers. The locals say that they often hear sounds of hoofs and clanking armor. A knight without a leg on a headless horse comes out of the ominous mist and mercilessly punishes anyone who gets in his way. I didn't think it was going to be this much reading, but yes, it is a lot of reading. A trickle of cold sweat ran down Daniel's forehead. Alright, let's just move on. Kinda. As Daniel walked on the road through the dead forest, he heard the clatter of hooves and the clank of rusty armor. He looked at the road that went down deep into the mist, and saw a silhouette of a knight sitting on a horse. The silhouette was vague, but it was clear that these two were lacking something. When the rider came a little closer, it turned out that the horse had no head, and the rider had no left leg. Danny's mind refused to comprehend that, but he kept it together. Without saying a word, the rider attacked Danny, who barely managed to dodge the knight's sword that swooshed over his head. As the knight sped past and turned for another attack, Daniel wondered what he should do next. Let's try from the right side. The brave young man struck a blow with his sword from the right and deprived the knight of his right leg. The knight rode past Daniel. Then he spun his horse and tried to attack again, but he failed to keep himself in the saddle without his last leg and fell onto the ground. His trusty steed, seeing its master on the ground, charged at Danny. It jumped on the hero, wanting to crush him with its weight. What should Danny do? Duck, step back, run towards the horse. Daniel ran towards the horse. When the horse flew over him, he cut the animal's belly open. The horse landed, having already lost some of its innards, after which it fell down dead. Danny went to the one-legged knight. It was necessary to finish the started and bring the undead to its final death. Finish off the knight straight away, or talk to him. Finish him. Bleep! Bloop! One-legged horseman. The sword whizzed through the air as it crashed down on the knight's neck. His head rolled to the side. The undead was defeated. The dark forces left the place, and the mist began to dissipate, unveiling dry trees on the road, strewn with the bones of the falling travelers. Now Danny can continue his journey. The lonely road led the young man away from Ragwin. The bright sun was hot on his head, so Danny came to the place where the roads converged, above which there was an arch in the form of two river trolls, who joined hands. This arch was so old that one could say exactly who carved it out of stone and when it happened. They said that this was done by the trolls themselves, who lived here in large numbers before the people came. The arch was very picturesque, but it seemed rather I'm getting tongue-tied already. Dilapidated and unsafe. Daddy looked at the road. Wait, where am I? Daniel stopped to look at the archway below. Under the troll's hands, it was colossal. After admiring the statues, Danny looked at the road that ran along the mountains. Meanwhile, a flock of birds came and sat on top of the arch. Suddenly, there was a crunch from above. Should Danny look up or run? Let's look up. And death. The young man raised his head and froze in horror. A fragment of the troll's stone hand was flying at him from above. Unable to move, Daniel faced death. The rock fell on the guy and crushed him. We are dead. Dun, 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 dun. New game.
Swordbreaker, the mysterious adventurer that one day shaped the fate of the abandoned castle. But how? Did he save the princess? Did he become the Dark Lord? Or has he stolen the Lord's gem? What do we know about the Swordbreaker at all? Who is he, and how did he get his nickname? This story will tell you about the time when a naive boy wasn't the Swordbreaker yet, and he would have to face his fate at a young age. And who knows if he become that same man known for his adventures in the castle, or if totally different ones awaits him. It all began in his home village of Sunny Hills, where he spent his childhood days.
We are going to say, alright, mother, because that's the only way to do anything. We're gonna... Let's go to the forest. Opposite direction. We haven't done that. Then he decided not to follow the path, but turned into the thicket. He walked for several minutes until he came to a strange clearing. The grass in the clearing was flattened, and some mosaic glass pieces were scattered right over it. The boy looked around a bit, but found no one nearby. Should he play around with the mosaic glass? Let's play with the glass. What could go wrong? Do these rotate at all? Alright, doesn't look like they do. Come on. I know you go there. Cincinnati Reds score? What? Come on, Yanks. Them wants less reading and more shooting. Sounds good to me. Maybe. I don't know. Depends if that'll get me canceled or not. Amen to that. That did something. Danny put together a beautiful mosaic, and it started to shine fabulously. The boy did not expect such an effect, and moved away from it timidly. Well done, Danny heard in a girl's voice. I've been trying to put that together all day myself. Who are you? Come out and show yourself, the boy replied. Then a pretty face peeked out from behind a thick tree. It was a girl, about the same age as Daniel. Her sharp ears were the only difference from a normal person. Hey, I'm Zana, the princess of the southern forest. When I grow up, I'll be queen of the elves, the girl said proudly. And I'm Daniel, although you can call me Danny, the boy said awkwardly. Nice to meet you, Danny. Let me show you our forest, Zana said. Zana. I'd love to, but it's getting dark, and my mom will take a belt to me if I won't get back home, said Daniel. Then let me see you off, and you must promise to come visit me someday, and the elven girl said with a smile. I will, the boy replied. Zana accompanied him to the edge of the forest. Danny could see his village from there, and he walked towards it alone. We're gonna try to go find her now. Alright. We're gonna escape to the forest. Can't use Xena for copyright reasons. We're gonna take... Oh! I didn't want to go to sleep. We're gonna sit quietly. What does it say? I wanted the mushroom. Alright, we're gonna climb the tree. We're gonna wait. Daniel decided to wait. If the wolves would give up trying to eat him and find a new prey. He was sitting on a branch and looking down apprehensively. He didn't have even the slight idea that the branch could break under his weight. I don't know. And that's exactly what happened. The branch snapped and Danny fell screaming. He fell near the tree and his head hit the ground, lost consciousness, and it was then the wolves ate his prey. Alright. Let's throw pine cones. Die, you bastards! The young man shouted and started furiously throwing pine cones at the wolves. He kept throwing the cones at them. Some of them even hit the wolves, but didn't do any good. The wolves became even angrier. I guess we have to throw our sword. Daniel swung his sword and hurled it at one of the wolves. The blade sliced through the animal's body and the wolf went still. The remaining two wolves came closer to the tree and growled. What should Danny do now? Then he asked himself, trying not to panic. All I have left to do is jump down and grab my sword. Let's nearest wolf. Oh my god. Daniel braced himself and leaped down on the wolf that was so close to his sword. However, he failed in his calculations and fell with his back landing on his own sword. Far one. The young man took aim, gathered his courage, and leaped down at the wolf, which was further from the sword. While falling, he got turned by the stream of air, so in the end, he fell with his back landing on the back of the wolf, crushing him with his weight. Then Daniel jumped up, yanked his sword from the corpse, and cut the last wolf that previously ran away from the fallen hero. Now I could take a nap, Danny thought to himself, while he was wiping his sword and the wolf's hide. Nice. Alright. We're gonna go to the queen. They walked with the guards through the forest for quite a while, until they came to an open clearing with a massive tree. Swords? I don't have a giveaway. They walked to the clearing, massive in the middle. On its spots, there were small 11 houses, platforms, and stairs. The entire glade was covered with elven houses and buildings. This settlement looked as though it came straight from some storybook. Elven guards brought Daniel to a tree and stopped. Report to the queen about the prisoner, said one guard to another. The second guard nodded and went on to the passageway. In the tree's twisted, entangled roots, a minute later, a girl in a beautiful dress appeared. She was so beautiful. Several other guards walked beside her. Greetings, stranger, she said. I'm Queen Zana, the ruler of the city of the elves, the whole southern forest. The queen introduced herself. Hotly? What should Daniel answer? We're gonna remind her. Zana, it's been a long time. It's me, Danny. We met many years ago in the forest, remember? Daniel exclaimed, both surprised and delighted. Would ya look at the time?
SMS received.
Hello, Total Blank. How was that game last night? Danny, is that you? I'm happy to see you. You've changed so much. You've grown up to be such an attractive young man. But you didn't keep your promise. You haven't visited me since then. I'm here visiting you now, lady. I was literally waiting for that fourth overtime to end so I can go to bed, and then they score that goal with 12 seconds left. The NHL stats had one of the Florida defensemen skating 9 miles in that game. But you didn't keep your promise. She walked over to the young man and hugged him. Yes. After that, come on, stop scrolling. Where is it? Yes, after that incident, my mother started to keep an eye on me more. That's why I couldn't visit you. I'm sorry, Danny said. Well, that's alright. The main thing is that we're together again, the Elven Queen said happily. I agree, the boy said. I don't like that big text. Now it's scrolling right. I guess if you're here today, then it's fate. I would like to ask you for some help, and I hope you won't refuse, Dana said. How can I help you? The young man asked. It's a long story, so I won't go into the details. I'll make it brief. Our forest is our home and our protection. We live in peace with all the animals, races, and people. Oh, geez. Wrong button. Peoples of Dorgan. Elves don't like war. They're always ready for it. There are some vampires in the eastern part of our forest. At first, they started attacking animals, but now they've moved on to attack humans and elves. A long time ago, they destroyed all the dendroids in our forest by killing most of the animals, and now the Order of the Long Root wants to perform a ritual to summon the spirit of the last dendroid, which could help us defeat the vampires. Your task will be to help the Order with everything and protect it from the vampires while they perform their magic rituals. Well, and do not disturb them, of course. In fact, I have another request for you. Far away from here, in the swamps, there lives an old woman. Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga? Baby Yoda? She's an old witch. She's in close cooperation with those vampires. If you manage to destroy her, then not only can we force the vampires to retreat, but we can also launch an attack and wipe out this evil forever. What do you say to that? Zana grasped out. What should Daniel answer? Yes, I'll help you. Of course I'll help you. Humans and elves must help each other, Daniel said. Great. You're a very brave man, Daniel. I hope that you will succeed, and your escort will leave for the Order at dawn tomorrow, because it's a long journey, and it's better not to wander through the forest at night. And today you could stay here in Thialawa? I don't know what that is. We'll give you a house to spend the night. Oh, not gonna spend the night with her? Rude. Thank you, Daniel bowed slightly. Zana and her suite went back to their tree. What should Daniel do? Pee under a tree. Let's do that. Suddenly, Danny wanted to go to the bathroom, but he didn't know where to find it. He moved a little further away and went up to a tree. The young man blissfully closed his eyes. However, his happy moment didn't last long, as an elven guard saw him. You bastard! How dare you desecrate our sacred forest? Cried the guard, and fired an arrow at him. The arrow pierced Daniel's body and pinned him to the tree. We've died again. Just the wrong team won. I don't know who I'm rooting for in that series. I don't know who I'm rooting for in either of these series. Alright, we've died a lot.
A Swordbreaker, the mysterious adventurer that one day shaped the fate of the abandoned castle. But how? Did he save the princess? Did he become the Dark Lord? Or has he stolen the Lord's gem? What do we know about the Swordbreaker at all? Who is he? And how did he get his nickname? This story will tell you about the time when a naive boy wasn't the Swordbreaker yet, and he would have to face his fate at a young age. And who knows if he become that same man known for his adventures in the castle, or if totally different ones awaits him. It all began in his home village of Sunny Hills, where he spent his childhood days.
We're gonna continue. We're gonna go. Alright, mother. Let's go to the forest. We'll go along the path. Let's escape to the forest. We're gonna take the mushroom. We're gonna sit quietly. We're gonna climb the tree. We're gonna throw the mushroom. We didn't meet the queen in this playthrough, but we're gonna go to the queen. We're gonna greet her. Greetings, Queen Zana. I'm honored to meet you. My name is Daniel. I came here from the village of Sunny Hills in search of adventure. Perhaps I can render some good services to you. Danny bowed courteously to the queen. Well, since you claim to be looking for an adventure, I have a little task for you, if you can help. Then I and the whole city will be grateful for you, and you will be able to count on our assistance in the future. It has 60-something achievements, 68 achievements. I have gotten 3. I'm sure there's like the guide to hit 1 2 1 1 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 5 5 5 2 1. You will be able to count on our assistance in the future, the queen said. What's the task? Danny asked. It's a long story, so I won't get into the details. I'll make it brief. Is this the same story, vampires? We'll say sure. 20 playthroughs with a guide? Not too bad. Of course I'll help you. We're not going to pee under a tree. We're going to go to sleep. The locals took Daniel to a modest house in the outskirts of the city. When he saw a soft bed there, he immediately went to sleep. The next morning, he was awakened by the guards. The birds were chirping softly outside the window. Danny was so sleepy, but he had to get moving. One of Zana's mages had come to accompany him to the order. He was dressed in beautifully colored clothes, and he carried a long staff. Modest house. The long and exhausting road through the forest led them to some unknown destination, or rather, only the mage knew the way. Daniel would have been lost long ago if he had gone by himself. Suddenly, the mage stopped and started to listen. He raised his hand, ordering Danny to freeze. It was very silent. Daniel was a bit scared. He didn't understand what was going on. There seemed to be no signs of any living beings nearby. What should Daniel do? Stand still and wait. I better wait. Let the mage deal with it, thought Danny, and began to wait. What the mage was doing... And began to wait the mage was going to do. Some of the wording isn't me. The mage waved his hands in the air, drawing some strange patterns, and finally uttered an incantation. A sharp metallic sound came out from the grass. Miami Heat and Boston Celtics have tipped off. A lot of traps that were scattered around the nearest area of the forest slammed shut. You could do similar to last year, and either the wife and I will pick you up, or I'll pick you up. We'll be your Uber again. When the traps were neutralized, the companions went further along the route. After a few hours of wandering through the forest, they came to a large clearing where they could see withered, massive trunks of old trees. A host... Just get something, reasonable. We're going to FanFest! A host of 11 mages scurried around the largest of the dead trees. The mage joined his fellow mages, and Danny came up to the archmage. "Greetings, I'm Daniel. Queen Zana sent me to help you," Danny said. You were right next to LAX, right? F5 was near the practice facility for the Lakers. I was trying to remember which hotels we went to. Ah, good day to you, Daniel. I'm Archmage Platonus. We've already performed some rituals near the trunk of the dendroid. And now we need the glowing berries that grow under the other side of the maze. Therefore, your task will be to get these berries so that we can make a resurrection potion for the dendroid, said the Archmage. Got it. Go through the maze, bring you these berries. Everything is clear as day. I won't waste your time any longer, and get you the berries, Danny said, and went the direction indicated by the Archmage. We can walk out or get the berries. Let's get the berries. Daniel came up to the entrance of a large hedge maze. The long ridges of plants formed its walls that stretched far through the forest. The young man boldly stepped forward. Hi, Jordan. Where am I? I don't see myself. Oh, there I am. Where's the exit? I don't see anything that looks like an exit. Oh, there it is. Well, that was one heck of a maze. I almost lost my mind while I was wandering through it, Danny thought as he emerged from the other side of the maze. A meadow of incredible beauty appeared before him, where he saw the glowing berries he was looking for. Each berry glowed softly with a blush light. There were a lot of them. What should Daniel do with these berries? We're gonna take a handful of berries. I'd better gather more berries, just in case they need them. And there's our fourth achievement. Nice. PA challenge. Daniel thought. He gathered a handful of berries and went back to the order. As Danny returned to the camp, he found Platonus and showed him the berries. You're a bright guy, I see. You passed the maze, gathered the berries. Something will come out of you, Daniel, the Archmage said joyfully, and took the berries. Only 4 achievements. I'm not very impressed. Well, I'm not just doing a guide and pushing 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, die. I'm actually reading the story. Platinus threw them in a big alchemical mortar with the other ingredients and ground everything diligently. It's time to begin, dear colleagues. It's time to begin the ritual of summoning the spirit of the last Dendroid. Everyone, take your places, ordered Platinus. Mages quickly surrounded the trunk of the dead Dendroid, and Platinus entered the center of the circle with his brew. Silly, silly nighttime. He poured all of the mortar's contents around the roots of the Dendroid and began to utter a resurrection spell. Daniel felt that the space around the Archmage started to distort, and the trunk of the Dendroid began to glow with the light of the berries. A bright flash lit up the clearing with the dead Dendroids. And then the spirit of the last Dendroid appeared over the dead trunk. It was a delightful sight. Name yourself, Dendroid spirit, the Archmage commanded. I am Docking Club, the last of the Dendroids who ever lived here. Why did you summon me to this mortal world? The spirit replied. We've got the right trunk. I'm Archmage Platinus. Queen Zana, Lady of the Southern Forests, and I want to ask you for your help. Tell us how to defeat the damned bloodsuckers who destroyed your family, said Platinus. So the vampires got to the elves too. You could have helped us in those days. Never mind. Too many years have passed since then. I know how to defeat this evil, said Oaken Club. That's not a D. I don't like this font. And hockey has started. How? Tell us. What do we need to do? The Archmage asked. What do you need? Garlic. As much as possible. Vampire survivors? With the garlic that looks sus. But you can plant it all around the perimeter of the forest and the bloodsuckers won't get in here. Also, carry garlic with you, just in case you encounter a vampire unexpectedly. This is the whole secret. This is the way. Garlic? Is that some kind of joke? We don't eat garlic. Our breath stinks horribly after eating it. Platinus was taken back. No, it's not a joke. The whole world knows that vampires fear garlic. You'd better talk to people more often, said Oaken Club. I see. Thank you for enlightening us, Oaken Club. Rest in peace and all that. We will avenge all of you, said Platinus. He waved his hands and the Dendroid spirit disappeared. We need garlic. Daniel, you have a new assignment. Get a few wild garlic bulbs in the woods, and then we will plant them on the borders of the forest. Alright, I'll see what I can do, the young man replied, wandering off into the woods. Go Knights. Soon, Daniel came out into a clearing. There were mushrooms, shrubs, and various herbs growing there. Probably the wild garlic should be here somewhere. Right? The garlic is a lie. We actually don't like tomatoes, because it looks like blood and it's fake. Danny thought. Danny started pulling out various herbs and examining them. The young man didn't know anything about herbs and had no idea what wild garlic looked like. He only saw the regular one in his garden. Daniel spread out the plants on the ground, wondering how he could tell which one was garlic. Smell them. I'll try to find this garlic by its smell. The young man thought, and he started to smell the plants. The first plant wasn't garlic for sure, and its smell was real unpleasant. The second plant didn't smell of anything, but the third one faintly smelt of a good old garlic. So there it was. Daniel happily picked some more garlic for the elves and headed back to them. He returned to the order of the long route. Here's your garlic, Platinus, Daniel said proudly. Thank you, Daniel. We praise and honor you for helping us. I'm sorry Queen Zana can't thank you in person right now, but I'll tell her everything Maybe next time she'll thank you personally, Flatness said joyfully and took the garlic. And I shall continue my journey. Goodbye, Danny said. I won't hold you back any longer then, the Archmage smiled. And once again, Daniel walked alone through the forest. Daniel walked along the road, looking around to the left. He could see the Dorgan Range with its beautiful snow-capped peaks. The evening came gradually. The stars scattered across the night sky twinkled cheerfully in the distance. I should spend the night here, Danny thought, and started to prepare for sleep. Should he go to sleep or sit and gaze at the stars? We're gonna gaze at the stars and hope Vegas doesn't do the same thing. Daniel lay down on the grass and looked up at the starry sky. The sight was fascinating, especially with the high mountains on the background. The stars were very bright. They seemed to beckon to the young adventurer. I wish I could be there, far away from home, Daniel thought wistfully, looking up at the stars. Suddenly, he heard a growling noise from somewhere in the mountains, and then the cry of an unknown bird. Some strange creatures must be inhabiting these mountains, he thought. He lay there for a while, thinking everything that happened to him along his way, and then he fell asleep. That is a pretty view. The next morning, Daniel set off again. Joyfully walking along the road, the young man suddenly stopped in front of him. There was a pile of leaves. It looked like a trap for travelers. Very suspicious, Daniel thought. We'll go around the leaves. The road still lay along the Dorgan Range. The mountains were really close to the road. The singing of the birds was interrupted by a heart-rending roar that came from the mountains. Danny stopped and stared up, but saw nothing. Then the roar repeated again. The young hero got nervous and pulled out his sword. Let's wait. Oh! What killed us? Daniel stood and stared at the mountain range, but he didn't see much. He first heard a whistling noise, and then his head got smashed into bits. It was the mountain yeti, who accurately threw a boulder from a great height. Its threat was eliminated, and the yeti hastily disappeared in the snow cover of the mountains. Alright, so we're gonna leave immediately. Moving slowly along the road, Daniel heard some noise. The sound grew louder and louder, and his ears began to ring. Suddenly, tearing the clouds apart, some object flashed through the sky. It was clearly descending, and then it disappeared behind the trees. The sound was gone. The suspicious object attracted Daniel's attention. Let's go see what it is. Tree branches hit Danny in the face from time to time, but he still continued running deep into the forest. Just a bit further, and he ran out into a small clearing. The thing that flew over him was standing in the middle of it. The object was made of metal, but it looked weird to Daniel. He'd never seen such a thing before. He couldn't find any doors in the object. They were either closed or invisible. Suddenly, he heard someone cry and some loud bangs in the forest. Should he run away or check it out? We're going to try to open the object. As he walked around the object, he found what looked like a door, but it had no handles, so he took out his blade and tried to bend the metal. However, the object's protection system worked, and Daniel was hit by a strong electric discharge. The young man's charred body flew meters away from the mysterious object. Let's check it out then. Daniel ran to the forest, where the sounds were coming from. He came out onto a clearing, surrounded by trees and bushes. Suddenly, everything went quiet. Even the birds disappeared somewhere. Danny was standing in front of a large, branching tree with some bushes behind it. He felt tense, as if someone was watching him. Suddenly, a green beam appeared from behind the foliage of the tree. It slowly crept up on the young man's body, towards his head. A drop of cold sweat trickled down the young man's face. What should he do? Jump aside. Daniel jumped away from the beam with an incredible speed and fear. At the same moment, a shot rang out and a beam of plasma tore through the bushes behind Danny. The beam disappeared. Hardly had the young man raised his head to take a look when a terrible black creature with long, spiked tails flew over him and rushed to the source of the beam. The monster leaped onto the trunk of the tree, and with the help of its sharp claws, it began to climb the branch from which the shot was fired. Daniel didn't understand what was going on. What should he do? Wait to see what happens next. Daniel started to wait. What would happen next? The black monster leaped up at its enemy and knocked it down from the tree. They both fell down to the ground. Danny couldn't see that strange alien that was sitting in the tree. All he could see was the transparent silhouette. The black monster waved its legs with fury and tried to stab its enemy with its sharp tail. However, the second alien didn't want to give up and fired back with its gun. Not a single shot hit the black monster. The fight continued for several minutes until the black monster pierced its enemy's invisible body with its tail. Why does that look like Alien vs. Predator? Scarlet blood flowed all around its body, and its disguise stopped working. The body of the dead creature seemed to look like a human being, but its head was hidden in a metal helmet. It is AVP! Oh my god! Come on. Suddenly, Danny's calmness was gone because the black monster was rushing straight towards him. What should he do? Run away. And that's gonna kill us. The young man turned around, ran away from the battlefield. However, the black monster moved quickly. That was a weird sound. And in a few seconds, it caught up with its victim. It leaped onto Danny, knocking him onto the ground, and then it started to tear his flesh violently. Danny had no chance to escape.
A Swordbreaker. What do we know? This story, and it all began in...
Alright, mother. We're gonna go to the forest. Go along the path? Was it? We're going to escape to the forest. Take the mushroom. Climb a tree. Grow a mushroom. Go to the queen. Greet the queen. I'll help you. Go to sleep. Stand still and wait. Get the berries. So I guess you have to do these every time. You can't skip it. Take a handful of berries. Continue. Smell. We'll gaze at the stars again. Go around the leaves. We're gonna leave immediately. We'll go see what it is. We're gonna check it out. Jump aside. what happens next. We're gonna attack the monster this time. Daniel pulled out his sword, and when the black monster ran up close enough, he attacked it. The monster recoiled quickly and started to walk slowly around Danny. The young man felt that the monster wanted to make a sudden attack. What kind of attack should he wait for? We're gonna wait for a tail attack. Danny got ready for the monster's tail attack, and he was right to do that. The creature quickly stabbed its tail into the young man's chest area, but he managed to jump aside and chop the tail off. Yellow blood gushed from the stump of his tail, and the monster hissed in pain. Without a moment's hesitation, Daniel knocked the monster to the ground. The black creature's anger and bloodlust had diminished. Without his tail, it didn't seem so intimidating. The young man raised the sword over the enemy's head. Should he finish it off or take pride? We're gonna finish it, because that's probably an achievement. Daniel, cold-blooded, there it goes. Xenobug. Definitely AVP. Daniel cold-bloodedly plunged his sword into the black monster's head. Its bones cracked, yellow blood flowed out, and the monster was silent forever. What kind of creature was it? And where it came from remained a mystery. The only thing clear was Danny had been involved in a rather serious fight. Well, never mind that. Both the aliens were dead, which meant that the young man probably whole of Oregon was in no threat anymore. They're in a big threat. Daniel was approaching the entrance to the grotto. He could see the huge stone doors, painted with ancient goblin ruins. He walked up to the doors and stopped. There was no one around, and the young man had no idea how to get inside. It's strange that nobody mentioned how to open the doors. What should he do? Touch the ruins. Danny ran his hands over the ruins on the doors, and they glowed with a magical white light. After a moment, the doors began to open, revealing a dark tunnel leading down. There weren't many torches on the walls of the cave. Daniel boldly went down to the stone stairs and examined the cave while he was descending. 10 minutes later, he reached the bottom and came out into a huge cave with stalactites, columns, bridges, and goblin houses. There it was, Grotto, the old goblin city under the mountain. The unusual architect of the houses in the cave looked very nice. The little goblins scurried through the streets of the city, taking a look at their visitor every now and then. Daniel went down the main street towards a large building that looked like a citadel. This is probably the Goblin Citadel, and their ruler lives here, the young man thought, looking at goblin merchants' tents. Go to the citadel, walk around the city, or chat with the merchants. Let's go to the citadel. Daniel walked towards the citadel, but he didn't get far. Guards with swords and shields approached him from a different direction. "Stop, human," one of the guards shouted. "Okay, I'll stop." "What's the matter?" Danny asked. "We've noticed that you've been acting suspiciously, outsider. We've never seen you in our city before. King Toby ordered us to take you to him," the guard explained. "Come with us." Daniel had no other options, so he meekly entered the citadel with his goblin escort. The citadel was beautiful and cozy inside. It seemed like a toy house to the Danny, probably because of the size of the furniture and the other elements of the interior. After passing through several halls, the guards led the young man to the throne room, where he saw a plump little goblin with gray beard and golden crown sitting on a large wooden throne. "Here's the stranger, your majesty." The guard bowed and pointed at Danny. "Thank you, lieutenant. You can leave now," the king ordered. The guards obediently left the hall and closed the door behind them. "Hello, human. I am Toby the Digger, king of Grotto. I like Grotto. I know all the human merchants that come here, but I've never seen you before. Who are you, and what are you looking for in my city?" Toby asked suspiciously. "How do you do? I am glad to meet you. I am Daniel Horde from Sunny Hills. Indeed, it's my first time in your wonderful city. I'm not a merchant. Just a simple man, Danny said. I see. So what do you want in our city? My subjects do not like it when there are suspicious people hanging around here. I'm looking for adventures. I came here, I'm looking for adventures. I like that. I'm looking for adventures. Is there any work for me? Danny asked. Adventures, you say? Perhaps there's one thing you could do. That is, if you're not afraid. I'm all ears, Your Majesty. There's a Yeti living in the snow-capped mountain above our city. They constantly throw snow and stones at our travelers, who are on their way to the grotto, and it undermines people's interest in our city. Sometimes it does its business near the city gate. It would be nice to deal with this Yeti once and for all. We are tired of its antics already. Can you handle this job? Sure. It's a deal. Having left the citadel and exited through the city gates, Denny looked around. The high mountains almost touched the clouds with their peaks. The young man noticed a very steep path going up the mountain, winding between the cliffs. Blame that pig. Oink oink. I guess I'll have to go this way, Daniel thought, and began to cautiously climb up the rocky path. Several hours passed, but he didn't reach the top yet. It seemed easier from down below. Danny was starting to get cold and tired. He was thinking of resting a bit. Suddenly, the young man heard a crash from above. As he looked up, he saw a huge boulder flying his way. How could he escape it? We're going to try to hide. In a flash, Daniel leaped behind a large piece of rock that was lying near the path. The huge boulder flew into the place where Danny was previously standing and then tumbled further down. Damn it, Yeti! You want to kill me? Just you wait, I'll fix you, Danny said angrily and continued going up the path. The trail led him to a snowy mountain plateau. The wind was even stronger here, and it chilled to the bone. There was a cave to his right, an incredible view of the swamps in front of him. Daniel cautiously entered the Yeti's cave, following the winding path of the cave. He came out into a big room where the monster lived. There was a fire burning in the center of the room, and the remains of animals and people were scattered in the corners. The Yeti was sitting on a rock in the far corner of the cave, picking something in its fur, but it didn't notice Danny. How should Danny kill it? Hurl the sword, challenge, run away, throw a stone. I don't want to throw my sword. That killed us. Danny picked up a small stone from the cave floor and threw it right at the monster. It hit the Yeti's head, so it infuriated it. The Yeti quickly picked up the same stone and threw it back at the young man. The monster was very strong, so the stone flew fast. Danny didn't even have time to react. Alright. Let's try throwing our sword. Danny wasn't a professional warrior. In fact, he wasn't a warrior at all. He was self-taught. So he threw the sword at the monster as best he could. He almost succeeded, but the sword twisted and hit the Yeti with its handle. The Yeti jumped to its feet and ran towards the young man. Daniel was unarmed, and he could only rely on his own strength. What should he do? Dodge. Danny quickly jumped to the side from the running monster. Yeti ran for a while, mechanically, and then stopped at the wall to turn around. Daniel had a brief opportunity to do something. He didn't have any weapons at all. The young man started to look around. His sword was lying quite far from him. However, he saw something shiny lying next to the nearest pile of trash. Should he run to the sword? Let's look through the trash. That's not good. Danny ran to the nearest pile of trash, kicked off the top layer of it. Underneath, he saw a shiny object. It was a dagger. Apparently, the trash was the remains of one of the soldiers who came to kill the monster, but was defeated himself. Hardly had the young man taken the dagger when the Yeti ran up to him. The monster pushed him to the floor and was about to attack him from above, but Daniel quickly put his hands with his new weapon forward and pierced his enemy The heavy Yeti fell onto the young man. Its wound became even deeper as the dagger went into it. The monster went silent. Everything around them was covered in the furry monster's blood. Daniel struggled to push off the corpse of his defeated enemy, and then sat down on the floor to catch his breath. Yeti stank horribly of dog and waste products, so Danny didn't want to linger in the cave any longer. Another one! Yeti! Having finished with the Yeti, the young man rested a little, and decided to go back to the goblins. Now, he should tell the King Toby about the defeated monster, and get some help from the goblins to fight the war against the Mingles. But the thirst for adventure prevailed Danny from staying put and running routine errands. Hi, Jordan. He was drawn far into the unknown. He was also a little thirsty. Daniel saw an icicle hanging from the ceiling in the corner of the cave. Should he go back to the... We're gonna suck the icicle. Oops. Daniel went to the large icicle and tried to lick it, but it was difficult to do because it was hanging quite high. Then the young man stood right underneath the icicle and opened his mouth. With his hands, he started to warm the icicle so it would melt. He managed to do it, and the water started to drip down. However, the icicle started to melt from the temperature of his hands and broke off from the roof of the cave and pierced Danny through. Rip. We're gonna go back to the Citadel. May Toby be with you. Daniel cut off the Yeti's shaggy ear and hurried away along the path that had brought him there. Fighting the cold, piercing wind again, the young man went down to the grotto. A smile lit up on Toby's face as Danny entered the throne room. Daniel, you're alive. Tell me, how did it go? The goblin exclaimed happily. Well, I went up to the top of the mountain and found the Yeti's cave. Then we had a little fight. Well, here you are, the young man said, handed Toby the cut-off ear of the Yeti. Toby took the ear, examined it carefully, smiled again. Incredible, you did it. I'm speechless. So many of my fighters tried to kill it. You're either a very skilled warrior or a damn lucky one, Toby said. A little of both, I guess. So what about our deal? Will you fight on our side? Daniel asked. Sure. You help my city, and the goblins will help you protect your city. Send us a messenger before the battle starts, and together we will tear these brutes apart, the Goblin King replied. Thank you, King Toby. And now, I have to go and report this to the enlistment officer of Rangewind. With your permission, I must go, Danny said. Toby got up from his throne, walked over the young man, and shook his hand firmly. After saying goodbye, Daniel left the gates of the grotto and set off on his way back. He didn't want to go along the road again, so he decided to take a shortcut and go through the mountains. Once again, he had a long way to climb, up to the top of the mountain. As he reached the top of the Dorgan Range, Danny went west along it towards the city until he reached its furthest peak. Here he found a huge nest on the mountain's peak. Who could have built it here, he wondered. The young man came closer to the nest and saw that it was empty. Suddenly, a strange creature flew up to the nest from the side of the cliff. It looked like a human and a bird combined. It hovered in the air, flapping its great wings and looking at Daniel. Should he talk to the creature or watch it? Or perhaps should he jump into the nest? Don't jump into the nest. Let's talk to it. Whoa. Hello, young lady. I was just passing by, and I saw the nest, but didn't touch it. I, Danny, didn't finish the sentence. The harpy clawed at the young man's chest and started to tear his flesh violently. Daniel died from severe injuries and loss of blood. Okay, well I guess with that death, that is where we're going to end today's stream. This has been Swordbreaker Origins, available now on the Xbox One, Xbox Series, and Windows platforms for $9.99. I'll be back tomorrow, 10 o'clock a.m. I don't know with what. I've got to look through my sauna notes and figure out what I'm going to... Ooh, Vegas almost scored. Figure out what I'm doing, but 2 streams tomorrow, 1 on Sunday. Kind of early stream on Sunday. Sorry, Ima. So, chat with y'all later. Have a great rest of your Friday. Stay safe and happy gaming.